joined by WIP legend Billy King. Is what you're most known for, I think, is your run at WIP. Some would say one of my best hires. How you doing, man?
I'm good. I like these hours better.
Yeah. You don't have to get up so early.
Yeah, I mean, I was waking up about this time, but it was on the AM.
Yeah. How's your game out there? You a good golfer?
No, I have a torn rotator cuff, so I brought my son in as the reliever, so he's playing for me.
Okay. Great event. Great day.
Great event. Beautiful weather.
Yeah. So, you must, being in the city where the team where you were general manager at one point, like the 76ers.
How you got to that.
Well, no. Just that you're here, and I can't imagine, when I'm off for a day on this show, I don't even listen because I don't want to know what's going on. So it's sort of
we're not talking nice about you.
Yeah, they're not talking nice about me. So I can just imagine you watching it with a different eye and thinking about it as having been in that situation and watching it that way. It just must be interesting for you.
It is. I guess every year we're a GM, you watch it from a lens of a GM. So it's what moves would you make, what deals would you do. So I'm always looking at not just the Sixers, but all the teams, like what deals would you do. Yeah. Cap-wise, guys are playing, Knicks lost. I'm thinking, okay, what are they going to do to get better?
Yeah.
Sixers lost. What are they going to do to get better? That's the curse of being a GM. Yeah. Is that that part never leaves you. Even as a coach, former coach, I'm watching it when there's a timeout, end of the game, what play could they run? So you're always thinking of it that way, not like the pleasure of just watching it.
Well, the NBA is so much different, I think, than the other sports because that one player is so important.
Yeah.
And even if that player is imperfect for one reason or another, it's still better than not having that player. So, you dealt with Allen as a general manager here. Morey is dealing with Embiid, imperfect in different ways, but both imperfect. What is it like, I guess, to have to build around a player that might be unpredictable, might not be the easiest to figure out?
Well, I think every team – Pat Riley told me this years ago when we had Allen. He goes, every team has things that they go through with their best player, their star. Some of it is not as public as Allen was, but everybody goes through situations. It's how you manage it, how you deal with it. But every team has those situations that they're dealing with, and you try to build a team so if that player is injured or not available to play, that they can continue to play and win without him. You're never going to win for a long period without your best player, but if you can build a team that can be competitive and play hard every night, give yourself a chance to win in those games, that's what you strive to do.
Yeah, Billy. Spike.
Oh boy.
He likes to say he's like a basketball guy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, do you see it? I mean, when you talk to him, or do you think you're talking to a good hoopman?
He's passionate.
He's passionate.
Oh,
that's
wow.
a good way to put it.
That's
a good way to put it.
And the reason I say he's passionate because of the fact that he watches it, he studies it, and there's some people out there that are Sixer fans, and they may not be as passionate, so they don't listen and talk to different people, get all the nuances. So when I say passion, that's not a dig. It's just that I think Spike will talk to people within this organization, and he will read maybe more things than you maybe. You may do it with baseball with the Phillies.
Sure.
But I think that's more his passion is the Sixers.
Yes.
He's a sports fan, but I think his passion's there. So when you're passionate something about it, you tend to dig deeper and learn more about it, just like you do with the Phillies.
That's right.
Yeah, that was nice.
That was eloquent.
Yeah.
That was beautiful.
Yeah, here comes the follow-up.
Yes, it is a follow-up. Has he thanked you enough for – because you acquired Ricky Sanchez, or you –
I did. Well, he was thrown into the deal. When we traded Allen, the previous GM in Denver had gotten Ricky Sanchez, drafted him, and promised their GM, the late Dan Fagan, that he will bring him over and sign him. Well, that GM was gone, and the new GM didn't want to adhere to that, so he asked me, can you just take Ricky Sanchez and do it? I said, all right, I'll take his rights. So we took his rights, and then his agent called me, Dan Fagan, and says, did they tell you to promise that they were going to bring him in and pay him? I go, no. He goes, well, are you going to do it? I go, no, we're not going to do it either.
That's amazing.
And I don't think he ever played in the NBA.
No.
Yeah.
So that's how he got here. I don't know how you ended up naming your podcast after
They traded his rights for Sam Young, was from Memphis.
Oh, the Pitt guy.
And we were just like looking on the list of transactions, and we was like, oh, that would be a funny name, and that was it. That was it. Yeah, not like a particular passion for the player. It was just a transaction.
And you'd be amazed. There are a lot of guys like that get traded constantly because they're, we need somebody to take the rights, because the agent's probably begging you to sign him or bring him over from Europe. So you're like, if I can get rid of that, I don't have to deal with the agent anymore.
Yeah. So Sixers are in a tough spot.
Yeah.
I guess you look and you say, okay, if this guy's healthy, then we have a shot. But he's never healthy. Like, at what point, I guess, when you're running a franchise, do you say, I can't live like this anymore? Do you know what I mean? Like, because mathematically, I would say, well, even if they only have a 5% chance of him being healthy, it's a better chance than whatever else they're going to do. But that's still tough to live with.
Well, the hardest thing is knowing when Joel is healthy, he's one of the best players in the league. And everybody's going to say, well, he's never healthy. But the thing about it is when you trade him, you're not the player or the players you're going to get back, you're never going to equal value. And the fact is you may get players that maybe in those 15, 20 games, at the 50 games that Joel will play, they're never going to equal to that. I think they've got to get more. They've got to get more athletic around Joel as much as possible. I think in the way the league is, if you're watching Oklahoma City, you're watching Indiana, you watch Boston, I think you need as many 6'8" athletes as possible to be able to compete in this league, because the game has changed where the power player down low is not as dominant, and the game is try to create mismatches by running pick and rolls, and so you got to have 7-feeters or 6'10" guys that can guard when you do switch.
Yeah.
So I think you need as many 6'8", 6'9" athletes to be able to compete in this era of NBA. And the shooting, everybody shoots three. So if a guy's a 30% three-point shooter, it's pretty good in this league. But I think you've got to just have as many long, athletic bodies as possible to be competitive.
What do you think about Ace Bailey? He seems like he's a hot topic here, obviously, because he's the third pick in the draft. What do you think about him?
I think he has a chance to be a very good player. I don't know if it'll be in the window of Joel Embiid and Paul George.
Okay.
That's where, if you're sitting there as an organization, do you draft him because he's the best player for you for the now and the future, or do you move him to get something to try to win with Joel in this window?
It's the most difficult thing is trying to do something. That pick is a great asset, right? But to be in the middle where they sort of seem like you don't want to go all out and trade the opportunity for a young player for now. But then if you don't, it's almost like you're wasting it because the kid's never going to play here anyway.
Yeah.
You know?
So that's the difficult part. I mean, I know they're going to listen to every offer, and people are going to make, and he's going to be as creative as possible. I think there will be a lot of movement just because I think a lot of teams are in the same position. You've got Dallas, Boston, even with Tatum being injured. What do they do? I mean, there are a lot of teams, Sacramento, they are looking at it. How do we, Chicago, how do we become better? Because they're all looking at that window. We've got to try to win. Some want to get in the playoffs. Some want to try to get further than they did in the first round. Some don't want to be in the play-in, Atlanta, for example. So I think that will create a lot of movement just because I think there's a lot of uncertainty in the league. There are a lot of teams that everybody knows that Indiana, Boston, if healthy, they'll be good. And the teams are going to be good in the East. Then there are a lot of teams that are uncertain. So when there's a lot of teams uncertain, that creates a lot of movement.
The one guy I'm really fascinated with, it's probably more of a trade down option, but it's the Duke kid, Knippel. I mean, how do you think his fit would be on this team, and would he maybe an interesting option as a trade down guy?
This opinion will be biased. No, but think
about it. You have a Duke shirt on.
But how many Duke guys did I ever have in my career?
That's a good point. It's not like you run around, acquiring Duke guys.
Yeah. You weren't the Chip Kelly of
GM. I love Con. I think he's an unbelievable shooter. I think he's a 4 in this league, mismatch 4. So on this team, he'd be great because he can shoot the ball. Defensively, he'll try and give you effort. I think he's a bigger Cal Korver version of a defensive player, better rebounder probably than Cal. Shooting-wise, I think he has a chance to be just as good because I think he's a really good shooter. And I think he's more ready to play right now too.
Well, and while we're asking, what Malawak, is that how we say his last name? The center on Duke.
I think his upside is tremendous. I don't think he's going to be a guy that's going to come in and be a dominant player next year, but I think he has a tremendous upside because I think he'll be a very good player in this league.
Would be an interesting pick if the Sixers were to go and take a center.
Yeah.
That
tells you what they're thinking about doing right there.
Absolutely. All right, Billy. We appreciate your time.